Good morning all. Today we are discussing theories of consumption. First of all, we are discussing types of consumption theories. The four most important theories of consumption are as follows. First one, absolute income hypothesis, relative income theory of consumption. Third one, life cycle theory of consumption. Fourth one, permanent income theory of consumption. Then, first we are discussing absolute income hypothesis. What is absolute income hypothesis? Actually, it is originally developed by James Keynes and subsequently by James Tobin and Arthur Smithies. It explains consumption depends on the absolute level of current income, direct and linear relationship between aggregate income and aggregate consumption, and as income increases, consumption also increases but less than increases in income, and average propensity to consume falls as income increases. These are the main content of absolute income hypothesis. Here, absolute income hypothesis defines with a diagram, that is C1, C2 is the short-run consumption function, CL is the long-run consumption function. CL is the summation of all short-run consumption function reflecting absolute income hypothesis. Here, absolute income hypothesis explains the consumption function is non-proportional in the short run. The consumption function is proportional in the long run because factors other than income leading to the upward shift. Here, increases reason for the factors other than income leading to the upward shift, that is increase in wealth, other than reason other than income, that is increase in wealth, migration from rural to urban, introduction of new products, the percentage of older people in population. Here, these are the major importance incentives of the absolute income hypothesis. Next, we are discussing relative income hypothesis. Actually, it is developed by American economist J.S. Dusenberry. Consumption depends on relative income of an individual rather than his absolute income. It is the main concept of the relative income hypothesis, that is, consumption depends on relative income of an individual rather than his absolute income. The consumption of a person does not depend on his current income but on certain previously reached income level. Then, relative income hypothesis depends on a demonstration effect, that is, lower income people imitate the higher income people's consumption behavior. And second one, ratchet effect, that is, harder to reduce the consumption from the higher level. Then, next, permanent income theory of consumption. It is forwarded by well-known American economist Milton Friedman. Consumption is determined by long-term expected income rather than current level of income. And current income is equal to permanent income plus transitory income. Permanent income is equal to anticipated income. Transitory income is equal to unanticipated income. Permanent income theory of consumption based on permanent income and transitory income are independent. Permanent consumption and transitory consumption are dependent. Transitory income and transitory consumptions are independent, and marginal propensity to consume from TY is 0. Next is the life cycle theory of consumption, that is, post-Keynesian theory of consumption has been put forward by the Franco Modigliani, Richard E. Bromberg, and Alberto Anto. Here, individual is assumed to plan to pattern of consumption expenditure based on expected income in their lifetime. It is based on life cycle theory of consumption. The diagram explains the CY is the deserving period of time, that is the young period from age of 15 to 25. Then from age of 25 to 65 is the working age, that is the income curve. He is higher than consumption curve. Consumption curve C is below, but the income curve is higher because he is in a working time and he can save more than his consumption. Then from the 65 to 75, his income curve also decreasing as Y, and the consumption is higher than Y. Then from 15 to 25 and 65 to 75 is the deserving period, and working period from 25 to 65 is the working period and also the income period. Assumption. It assumes that year 75 is expected life. 75 is his expected lifetime. Net saving in the entire lifetime is 0 because the saving done by the individual in his working years of his life is equal to the saving made by him in his early years of life. YY shows the income pattern of whole lifetime of the individual, whereas CC is the curve of consumption. Thank you. Good morning all. Today we are discussing marginal efficiency of capital. What is marginal efficiency of capital? The marginal efficiency of capital is that the rate of discount which would equate the price of a fixed capital asset with its present discounted value expected income. The term marginal efficiency of capital was introduced by John Maynard Keynes in his general theory and defined as the rate of discount which would make the present value of the series of annuities given by the returns expected from the capital asset during its life just equal to its supply price. Marginal efficiency defined by John Maynard Keynes, that is, it is the asset is the highest rate of return over the cost expected from an additional or marginal unit of particular type of capital asset. Marginal efficiency of capital is the ratio between the prospective yield of an additional capital of good and its supply price. Marginal efficiency of capital in conjunction with the rate of interest determines the amount of new investment, which in turn determines the volume of employment. Interest is the reward for parting with liquidity, or it is the reward for not hoarding. Rate of interest and marginal efficiency of capital. Here, the relationship between rate of interest and marginal efficiency of capital, that is, as long as the marginal efficiency of capital is more than the rate of interest, investment will continue to be made till the marginal efficiency of capital and rate of interest are equalized. Once the marginal efficiency of capital is equated to the rate of interest, equilibrium investment is determined. Any disequilibrium between marginal efficiency of capital and rate of interest can be removed by changing the capital stock or by changing the rate of interest, or both. It is explained by the diagrams. That is here the investment is, when investment increases from I0 to I1, marginal efficiency of capital decreases from MEC0 to MEC1. MEC curve has a negative slope which indicates that as the capital stock increases, the marginal efficiency of capital falls due to the law of diminishing returns in production. Then, what is the importance of marginal efficiency of capital? First one, the determination of employment. Second one, business cycle. Third one, solution to depression. Fourth one, socialization of investment. Thank you.